Let's talk about associating resources together. So far we have two resources. We have users and we have tweets. But in order for us to be able to build a real application, we're going to have to be able to link these things together so that a user has tweets and each tweet has a user that created it. This idea will then be used all over the place in your application. For any resource you have, it will be related to your other resources in some way. And there's a few special kinds of relationships that you can set up inside of a Rails application. You do this inside the model. So if you open up the tweet model, you can actually see that there's a line belongs to user. If you look up Rails associations, you can see the different kinds of associations that exist. There's belongs to and has many. Those are two of them. You can have has one, has many through, has and belongs to many. The ones that are going to be the most common for us are belongs to and has many. And it can be a little difficult to figure out which way it goes. But basically, right now, each tweet has one user associated with it. So it's impossible for a tweet to have two users that created it. Each tweet just has one. So a tweet belongs to a user. Whereas a user can have many tweets. So we haven't added that line in here yet, but we have it in the tweet line. So it's we've defined this relationship in one direction so far, which means that we can get from the tweet to the user, but we can't get the other way around. Let me show you what I mean. I'm actually going to show you this inside the Rails console because we've opened this up before. It allows us to pull stuff out of the database and play around with it. So I'm going to run something a lot like I do inside my controller when I get a tweet. But I'm going to do at tweet equals tweet.first. OK, so I've just got my first tweet, which is actually this. It's this one right here. That's the first one, right? Show tweets /1. And there's a user here. So if I do at tweet.user, now I get my user. And that's what this line allows us to do. Even though all that I've actually set up on my tweet is a user ID, content created at, updated at, etc. I could do tweet.user ID, and that'll just return 1, which is the ID of the user. But in reality, it's much easier for me to do like tweet.user and pull out the entire user, right? But let's say, let me get this user here. User equals tweet.user. And I'm using the @ symbol for creating variables. In the Rails console, it doesn't really matter if you use @ or not. It's just something that we're going to end up doing inside of our controller so that we can access it in the view. So I'm doing it in here just to sort of work in the similar way. But right now I have user. I can't do user.tweets. That doesn't do anything yet, right? So how can I get from the user to the tweets? Well, that's where I add this line, 2 spaces, has many tweets. And I save that. And now I should be able to do that. Of course, I actually have to close down the Rails console with Control-D and then start it up again. Because every time you make a change to a model, it doesn't necessarily update in here. So let's imagine I get the user equals user.first. This is just pulling the first user out of the database. And now I can do user.tweets. And it actually gives me a list of the tweets. So now I have this relationship working both ways. I can get the user tweets, or I can find the tweet equals tweet.first, and I can get the tweets user. OK. This is going to be really useful for us because we don't want someone to be able to enter in a random user ID. In fact, we want to create a tweet from the user that's currently logged in. And you can do that because now that the user has many tweets, I can also do I believe it's user.buildTweet. We'll try this, user.tweets.new. So this is how we'll go and actually start to create a new tweet, and you'll see it automatically sets the user ID to the user that we currently are creating it through. So in the next video, I'll show you how to do that so that we actually have it inside of the controller so that we can get rid of this field and just automatically, when someone creates a new tweet, it's going to be created associated with the user that's currently logged in.